With all respect to all possible AI, we need to realize there's something called HI, which is human intelligence, that sits far higher in the value chain. I would always tell everyone that because of AI, your job's going to go away or you won't have a role, or that you shouldn't get into this career, because AI is only here to sort of enable us in certain forms.
Right from a small agency to a network kind of a large agency, we are very clearly seeing the disruption. With AI, how this industry is transforming.
Client would typically send a brief on a Friday afternoon and say, let's go live on Monday. And nothing has changed 25 years. But it is also about thinking. It's not really about just speed. It's also just smarter agility.
Someone with a bunch of AI tools, probably with a little bit of clarity about the industry, is able to outperform someone in the industry.
I don't think the times to be scared, worried, thoughtful, or ever feel like, oh God, it's really going to be so much fun, because there's fun happening everywhere. India is not about these 10 cities. My friend, India is really in its rural and there, yet most people don't have a smartphone. That today, if you want to be in advertising for students, there's so much to do. Do you ever think AI will do those moments? Never.
In today's Dare2Begin podcast, we have someone with almost 3 decades of experience in the advertising and marketing. I'm very curious to talk to him today. He has got wide range of experience in this domain, and I don't think so if I could get any other better person in this chair. Today we have Dr. Kushal Sanghvi. He's director of a company called Commerce, which is headquartered in London. That's just one of the roles that he's handling to now, but he's part of multiple different companies' board, and he is working closely with a lot of governing bodies in fact, streamlining this particular industry. So I'm so excited for this conversation. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you so much. I think it means a lot to even have someone like me on your stage, and really happy to know about your journey as well.
So I remember the first meeting. I think it was in 2023, if I'm not wrong. I got awarded from you, my Social Samosa 30 under 30. In Mumbai, I've met you for the first time. That's when I went into your profile and I felt really happy to get the award from somebody like you, because you had that in-depth experience in this domain. So I'm very curious for this conversation. Like, I really want to learn a lot through this. So my first question would be, just tell a bit about yourself, because most of our audience are young India who is very aspirational, who are starting up their own businesses, or probably in the leadership of a startup. So we have wide range of this young crowd.
Sure.
But today's conversation, I want to go deeper into advertising, marketing, and technology as a domain. So tell a bit about yourself and let's take it from there.
No, absolutely. I think thanks once again. I think my journey with advertising and marketing began when I was in college. I was at HR college way back when I was only about sort of 17. And I was part of this batch, which was the first of its kind batch in the entire country, which had a double degrees honors. Along with BCom, we were specializing in doing marketing and advertising.
Amazing.
So 30 of us sort of began this journey. And to be very honest, at that time, I wasn't even too sure how far I'll go. But I think it was a good starting point in terms of it got me, I think, just not just knowledgeable, but I think it got me, a bit in love with the subject. I started to feel for, the kind of brands, campaigns, all the kind of things which were being done. And I think I navigated my life in terms of fairly early with a role when I was only 19 at my first job, literally. And that was way back in the first job itself. I began my career in digital. So for me, I think while I'm extremely passionate about sort of advertising and marketing, what has really been constant for me in close to about 28, 29 years of my life has been all about digital. And I've seen that very closely shape. And I keep telling people that I think the way digital has been growing, I think it's just continually every 5 or 6 years, there's this sudden new thing which comes into our lives and just literally becomes this big thing. Yeah. And we saw that with, in the good old days, it was email. After email, then it came as social media. After social media, we suddenly became all about mobile. And from mobile, we're in a space today, in the last 2-3 years, all about AI. So literally, I think different shifts have happened in the entire digital ecosystem. And I think within that, also brands have navigated themselves as well. Right? I think sort of from marketing lens as well, I think gone are the days when I think I can tell you honestly, if you ask me, I think when in my second role at, which I'm really passionate about even today, is that I learned most of my digital pretty much because of a great mentor called Mr. Balakrishnan.
Bharat.
So I was in that founding team of Rediff.com, which was at that earliest stage of in this, I think, space of, I think, what we call the internet world. I think Rediffusion sort of was the parent company. And in the early days of, I think, digital, I think Rediff.com was building websites for companies. Almost every large corporate of India, their internet website was built by us. So I think it was that space when, in those good old days, I'm talking about 98, 99, when people had to have a www.com and create a website address, right? So someone searching would land on a website. That was done by us as well. And then I think in those days, from moving from website creation to creating advertising, so we've been part of that journey where, honestly, if you ask me, I think, it wasn't easy. And we didn't even know how large it will become. But we were, I think, in that space, enthusiastic, wanting to learn. And believe you me, in that space of the overall advertising pie being whatever number it was then, but we were less than 1% of spend. Can you imagine, from a journey of within just, I think, less than 30 years, we were less than 1% of all advertising spends. Today,
Digital spends were-
yes.
yeah.
Today we've grown to almost close to 60%, which means within about 29 years, India has moved from less than 1% to close to 60%. So this massive leap has happened because of, I think, also adoption.
Right.
Well, people have begun to pretty much take to the internet as anything and everything, not just in terms of email or social content or in terms of staying connected through sort of social media, but it's every day's chores, right? Whether it's e-commerce, it's content, communication, every single thing. So that's the space which I think we sit in. And I think in that space, I think brands are doing a lot of good things to sort of connect with us at various levels as well.
Let me ask you a question where we are addressing the elephant in the room with that, because AI is everywhere today,
Sure.
especially advertising agencies and small agency owners, right from a small agency to a network kind of a large agency, we are very clearly seeing the disruption. You have seen it all from the beginning, from the time digital was just a baby, and today now it is the largest chunk of the entire advertising spend. So as you said, it's more than 60% now. So now with AI, how this industry is transforming, and people are asking, okay, now don't need a person or don't need even a small team, because I'm going to have AI and I'm going to sort this out. At least that's what the perception is, especially people who are entering this career, because I spoke to a bunch of advertising students even yesterday. So they were asking, like, what should I do right now? Because my role is under threat. What should I do? Because everybody is panicking. So what's your thought on that?
Firstly, let me just try and put it out for especially the students and the people who wanted to kind of get into this industry, is that this is the only industry where you really are able to sort of, I think, if you have a bit of a creative mindset, it's the space that you would love to continue to be in. I would always tell everyone that do not be in any manner feel that because of AI, your job's going to go away or you won't have a role or that you shouldn't get into this career. I think these are all, I think, too much of a grey cloud that is being projected. We must realize fundamentally that advertising is about creating an interest in a person's mind, which is the human mind, to feel for buying a product or a service, or in some fashion is that stimuli which creates for demand. So the typical modern, old classical definitions as well. Nothing's changed with those definitions. Kotler, Drucker, name all the different people who've spoken about it as well. That's not changing. With even digital, nothing's going to change. This is perhaps I would call as the 6th or 7th time that I'm at least trying to put this out in a podcast itself to sort of, I think, just clear that air. That for students particularly as well, who are thinking of even making a career in this space, please join this space. Because AI is only here to sort of enable us in certain forms. Enable in terms of, I think, at the end of the day is a word which is what we need to fathom very clearly that it is going to be just a space to help us do the basics. It's not going to do it all.
True.
So nothing is going to replace that human mind. Just think about the fact we've grown up in times that all of us today, for example, remember the Hamara Bajaj commercial. We know the Cadbury's one of the girl coming to the cricket field and so many iconic ones as well. Do you ever think AI will do those moments? Never. And these are only Indian examples. There are too many international examples as well. So what I'm essentially wanting to kind of put out is that, it's a space that, every, sort of 5 to 6 years, a new thing has come in. But even if we feel that this is a big, kind of one which is sort of sitting on our doorstep already inside as well, we've accepted it. It's already there. It's enabling us to perhaps write copy better. It's enabling us to do things faster.
Right.
It's perhaps creating for, I think, multiple sort of campaigns at faster speed, all of those things as well. Will it churn out too many people? No. But yes, the most basic, fundamental, rudimentary, easy to do jobs, perhaps yes.
Yeah.
So I think what is important to understand is, are you doing that data entry job in advertising? Are you doing that job of just cleaning images? So some of those most basic things, which were perhaps even jobs at some point in time, that is what I think is what is going to perhaps just vanish very fast, or already has vanished.
Right.
But clearly for people thinking, people wanting to create for, I think, just magic on screen, advertising should give you something which makes you feel good about what you're creating.
Right.
And for the audience, I think advertising is all about sort of, I think, creating for emotions, right? Good advertising is something which, wants you to feel brand love instantly.
Right.
So don't, I think, in any manner, I think I should want to do as many podcasts to tell the world at large saying that, you know what, maybe the fact is yes, because larger agencies, globally aligned sort of, I think, holding companies maybe have had so many people.
Yep.
So which is why, and I think it's not so many jobs which has essentially sort of, I think, being taken away at the lower levels. It's just that I think because also as much as what is happening at the agency side, there's also restructuring happening on the brand side.
Right.
The marketer is rewriting his own marketing rules and regulations.
True.
He's becoming more accountable towards business and multiple things as well. Now, when he's in that zone, clearly he's expecting his agency partners to also be in that zone. So you expect your agency partner to be fully in for your business goals and just not to create a brand, for example. Which is why I think also, I think the need of the hour for people in advertising is to sort of, I think, be a little more, I think, wholesome. So they need to be not just with a creative mindset or with ideas or the ability to create good digital stuff, but they need to be able to think also from a lens whether this product is going to sell well, how to make it more successful, and how to create for profitability for that product.
Right.
And therefore, I think for students, I think it's important to perhaps, I think, realize that advertising is not only going to be relegated to creative work. It will be creative for sure, but it's also going to have a space of you needing to be, I think, thoughtful about making business impact.
Right.
And therefore, it'll always have the opportunity for people with a left brain and a right brain together. And if you have both together, fantastic.
Yes, because if you see traditionally, there were so many different roles, like let's say copywriters or account managers or designers. But now today, they are working more like, along with AI, they are able to function along with data. Like right now, I feel the roles are evolving. If you take my personal example of running an agency, when we started, there was nothing called as ChatGPT back in 2020. But after the advent of ChatGPT, which is like early 22 and 23, it got growing, and now we are not able to reimagine the times without AI, right? Like now the productivity has improved, the kind of roles for which we are hiring has completely changed. But where we are seeing the difference or lack is that the preparedness of the students. Like even now, somebody studying advertising as a subject, probably they are not very fastly adapting to the changes that are happening in the industry. Where we see the difference is, like, let's say someone with a bunch of AI tools probably with a little bit of clarity about the industry, is able to outperform someone in the industry for probably more than 5 years or 6 years or even more. So how do you change? How do you adapt to this change, especially since you're working with a lot of institutions and governing bodies? How do we prepare the people for the next decade, or the where it's completely going to be AI native, where of course humans are going to drive the change, but we have to be prepared enough, right? Like, because you have been trained with a basic marketing book, 4 Ps, which still going to stay relevant. But how do we go with this pace? Number one, for people entering the job, and also for people who are in the domain. Probably the updation was not mandatory at any point in time. It was subjective from people to people. Whoever is curious, they were learning and they were growing. And the other people were like probably having a slow progress. But as an industry, we need to prepare for this change on how we are operating, because today with tools like Xfield, I can create a complete movie without even getting into a actual production setup. However, there is, on the other side, we saw brands like Coca-Cola and McDonald's have been thrashed on the internet because they have chosen an AI film over a thing. So still ethics plays some role in this industry. So what's your thought on it? Preparedness, and how do we approach this space?
No, I think you pretty much, I think, hit the nail on the head that you've got to be more prepared. And I think when I'm saying prepared is that I wouldn't know every quarter which new tech comes in or which new app comes in to help in this entire AI space as well. Today we probably have 50 or 100. Maybe in 27, we'll probably have 200. So what's important is to continually be under the whole, I think, regular, space of knowing what is going to be helpful for you in your entire process, whether it is to draw a caricature, whether it is to write copy, whether it is to shoot, whether it is to edit, whether it is to take pictures. And in various spaces, you will have AI, which will be those enablers for sure. And therefore, I think at all levels in the organization, whether senior, mid, junior, wherever as well, just knowledge of what is possible is definitely important. And I think those people who don't have the knowledge are the ones who will have to hone it for sure. Having said that, I think at the end of the day, I think we need to also realize for a moment that let's again, take a back seat and think, pause, reflect, is that despite all the AI which comes in as well, you will always have those situations pretty much from marketers that create that wow moment, create that magic, make this campaign viral, and so many things. Typical one-line briefs you get, right? I've only got this budget, but make it like a killer. I've got this pot of money, but bring in the best influencer and do that, or whatever, in multiple spaces. So I think that these sort of briefs are also never going to change, because I think as marketers, I think what's also happened over a period of time is opportunities to spread yourself across mediums. Within mediums, the opportunities as well. But having said that, I think what will remain still is that you will easily differentiate a film or a piece of work done with AI, without AI immediately. You said it yourself, for example, right? So I think what will happen is you will see more and more brands putting it out very transparently, saying this piece of work is done with AI. And for those which have not been done by AI, they won't need to say it as well. So you can tell that. And as a consumer, I think what we also need to realize is it's not just the marketer or the agency. Think of us, we're also the consumer at most times by buying those products, right? For us, advertising is about making us feel good about what we're seeing.
True.
And then it is after we're seeing, we feel connected, and then we're buying. So only and until if advertising gives you that sudden feeling of closeness to the brand, and that feeling of closeness never happens by suddenly just changing copy and content so quickly on web banners. Because a lot of that typically is what I would call the lower funnel. What we also need to realize is that advertising is built on a funnel, and there's a lot of discussion whether AI can really sit at the top layer, right? And the top layer are the typically most difficult ones to crack, because that's why you've seen companies like Leo Burnett, Ogilvy, and many known to do those magical, fabulous storytelling campaigns, which we remember for life.
Right.
So I think what we need to realize is sort of where in that entire sort of, I think, funnel is where AI will be done very regularly, where it's going to be a mix, where it will be like little, and where perhaps maybe just taking inputs is okay, but it's still going to be done fully human.
Right.
So we've got to understand in terms of also all of those nuances, saying what is that piece of marketing communication? Is it typically performance? Then pretty much 80% AI. Is it like really bottom of the funnel where you at the end of the day are only getting a lead? Then pretty much I would think 95% AI. But if it is to say, you know what, this is Coca-Cola and I want to make this new piece of film which is perhaps celebrating 150 years of Coca-Cola and magic and love and something else, you could perhaps do some stuff. You'll never get that really lovely, thoughtful, imaginative campaign on AI.
Since you mentioned about these legendary agencies like Ogilvy or Publicis or any kind of different types of agencies now, but what I've observed, at least in the last 1 year or so, we see a lot of agencies merging together. And we recently, I think a couple of days back, WPP, again, they have reintroduced their 4 new structures of they're putting all the creative teams together, and Group M is now WPP Media, and there are so many things that is getting merged together. So how do you see this? Though there is not a lot of loss in jobs, but how do agencies remain valid even today? Because it's always a debate that whether the brands have to internalize the team, because a lot of people now trying it with pace with AI, like they want to put in like maybe 4-5 interesting folks inside the team with AI, trying to reduce the budgets that is spent on agency or kind of internalize this entire process. So how do agencies approach this, or how at least should agencies get ready to handle this? Because that's the question brand is asking. Hey, now today do it with AI, because it's not just about agency. The brands are also looking at the possibilities that you can actually do with AI. So they're saying like, no, okay, I'm reducing the budget or slashing the budget to this amount, or like give me more quantity, or I'm expecting something like this. Probably there are a bunch of people creating interesting stuff with AI, but on the other side, how do agencies handle brands at this time and try to stay valid?
See, I think what you're asking is, I think, something which is happening all over the world. It's not an India story at all. So agencies, so the role that Cindy, who leads WPP today, is clearly in terms of, I think, coming from that lens that she has to look at people who are more accountable to the client's business. Yeah. And therefore, the client is saying that the person who is really fronting my regular day-to-day sort of opportunities, in the good old days, you would call them client servicing, account servicing people. That term hasn't really changed, right? But they're essentially your extended partners for that brand or for that company. So I think that person today, or those sets of people, are a mix going to be of a bit of creative, a bit of business, a bit of ideas, and a lot more. Now think about it. I think there was no one who was created, because it was clear-cut, demarcated roles. Even a servicing job was meant to be like that liaison between the creative or the media or someone to get execution. So because agencies haven't had those sort of people, they're trying to identify who can be the best for that people, and which is why they're trying to blend internally. Now, the blending internally is never an easy task, because that's ultimately about people. And people also are different. And let's face it, people have egos.
Right.
So to suddenly get creative, media, content, everything all together as one person or as one unit, or to find that one or couple of people who know it all, is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So I think the task which they have, not just the global holding companies, but pretty much everyone, is a bit challenging. Number one, because I think that's where I think at some levels, and also I think because the larger holding companies have always been in a space where at some point when they win a new business, they suddenly hire so many people.
True.
To suddenly feel that yes, one large business is gone, then you feel the heat and you feel like you got to fire people, right? So I think where it is really stemming from is also because clients' expectations are also changing so fast, and therefore they do not have the ability to want to continue with the same agency. That's where the whole pressure is, because the fact is some of the largest businesses which have been working for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years with an agency, after working for 30 years, 3 decades, suddenly feel this big company is not good enough. So that's the pressure point which is happening, and it's happening across businesses where accounts are bleeding and shifting from one place to the other. Having said that, I think some agencies have been built off, I think, of a certain vertical knowledge.
Right.
And this was only a creative agency,
Right.
or this was only media, or this was only digital. And then with clients are saying, you know what, I don't want to work with so many people. I want to work with one sort of team who knows it all, can service it pretty well.
Right.
So I think it's those interesting times where at one level, if we're seeing that, yes, there is a bit of a kind of a war cry globally in terms of trying to understand how to rewrite in terms of how a structure in the agency should be. And that's what all the holding companies are doing. At the same time, I think the advantage for a lot of independent or young new startup agencies like yourself is that because you guys are new, you're writing your rule book every day. You're working hand in glove with the client. And therefore, I think some of these, what I would call as sort of more agile, feet on the ground, really working for the client's objective agencies are the ones really benefiting. And this is across the world. And then we've seen another shift that some of these ones who've been in the last 5 years, 7 years, 10 years made magic, it's suddenly a large consulting firm coming in and buying them out.
Right.
So the story is not really about the larger agencies like WPP or Publicis. It's about a company like Droga 5, which you're familiar with if you're not familiar with.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And suddenly Accenture comes in
Acquires.
and acquires that. Now, just look at the worldwide rankings. A consultancy firm, never in this space of advertising, marketing, and all of those consulting companies want to play that same role.
Right.
So times are different now where I think it's not just WPP fighting Publicis, but it's IBM wanting to do that. It's SAP, it's Oracle, and it's everyone, because everyone feels that yes, we're a tech company, so we can pretty much do tech for business.
Right.
Then you've got a consulting firm which says, I'm most close to you because I work with the CEO's office and I know those challenges the CEO has or the CFO has. And if it is all about business, I should be the one shaping that business narrative for you as well.
True.
Yeah. And then suddenly you have a young digital agency who works closely with the digital officer or the CMO in the organization and does wow. Yeah. And there's so many examples of that as well. So I think interesting times. I don't think the times to be scared, worried, thoughtful, or ever feel like, oh God, you know what, it's crazy. I think it's only fun.
Right.
It's really going to be so much fun because there's fun happening everywhere.
Yeah.
So when there's, war on one side and one side is okay, then I think, yes, there's pressure. But when there's pressure on all the sides, I think when the CMO meets the agency guy as well, they meet as friends and say, let's make it happen.
In this era of AI, like still that human connections is actually that matters, that is building the businesses. Like ultimately, if two people in a coffee shop having an in-depth conversation can still, win over multiple AIs that are there. So I think it's always the human connections that is taking us on the other side.
You said my word. I've been saying this and I will keep saying it. I've spoken about this at some of the largest conferences in the world that I've had the opportunity to say it. I spoke of it at the AI conference last week in Delhi as well, is that with all respect to all possible AI, you have to realize there's something called HI, which is human intelligence, that sits far higher in the value chain.
Right.
Understanding just consumer insights and those triggers, no matter how many possible tools will tell you cohorts, mind mapping, human intelligence, something else, and some stuff, right? You will never be able to understand that without meeting people. So I think, yes, if you don't feel that perhaps we can do something really with this, you'll probably be one of those agencies where typically you'll go really hard hitting for the lowest funnel and want to do a typical mundane job of what I would call as doing marketing, which has got no soul.
So, what is that one unchangeable thing like in this space? Because now I would want to not use scarcity, but I want to use speed. The same letter, I mean, same the word that starts with S. So a lot of people are getting scared, but my suggestion would be to speed up this process. Speed is the only thing where that can make us keep us relevant, because the speed in which the organization is adapting, the speed in which we are adapting to the maybe a new tools or new processes. I feel, as you said, smaller agencies are able to do it faster, and larger agencies are like at least trying to, I recently I spoke to someone in a very large corporate. They say, what is the word that we use maximum inside our company? We say startup mindset, work like a startup mindset. So corporates are also trying to get that startup mindset within large corporates. So how do you see this speed as a thing? Like, because always creativity is like, let's say I want to sit down, I want to think, I want to give that, I don't want to have that creative gap. So that's the challenge in this space. But on the other side, with technology, speed is becoming the most important part. So I want your thoughts on this.
I'll tell you what, even 25 years back, a client would typically send a brief on a Friday afternoon and say, let's go live on Monday. And nothing has changed 25 years. Because you get the same brief typically in the afternoon or saying go live tomorrow. The only thing is the client today is saying let's go live in half an hour.
Okay.
So yes, I get the whole aspect of saying speed. But it is also about thinking. It's not really about just speed. It's also just smarter agility. It's not about getting things done in 30 minutes. So we're not in any manner, let's face it, we do not want to make advertising quick advertising. Because if you get into that space, you will perhaps solve for some needs, but you will not solve for really being able to satiate someone's hunger. When you sort of order on quick commerce, it's a job, easy, your groceries come in, toothpaste, whatever you've ordered has come. Has it given you a wow feeling somehow? Most times not. Because it's only replenished something for that moment. So I think let's figure out saying, when you sort of speak about speed, in what context is it? And speed is also today linked, because the fact is advertising is becoming more and more personal. Some of the best advertising people in the world will tell you, advertising is about you feeling good that this piece of communication is meant for you. And only then you relate to it as well. So with that speed comes personalization, yeah, and that comes through the fact of various tech available. So it knows you, it maps you on the internet, it knows your likes, preferences, all of that as well, right? And sometime that it can just come between your social feeds, it can come in a newspaper, it can catch you anywhere as well. But do you always want that magic of advertising to happen? Always say, I want to get it done within half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe not. Because sometimes the fact is, there always are going to be business heads who realize that to create a good piece of work, you will need that element of time. And if that need of time is going to take you, for example, even 10 days, so be it. Because today, let's face it, you will have all formats. A Meta and a Google are saying, yes, you should create a format within under 6 seconds, under 10 seconds, 3 seconds. I don't know what they'll do even further, 2 seconds or God knows whatever it is well, right? But you also have people creating that sort of long format is what we call it, that good sort of film. And all of us have enough examples of some great work done in long format as well.
Right.
So for creating long format, you will still need to use good creative thinkers, creative directors, and a whole team. In that team, there'll be probably at least about 60% who will use AI tech, but it'll be symbiotic, right? So even to make a larger than life good piece of communication, you will have an eclectic mix of people, and you will need to perhaps do it in a pace of time. You can't really sort of, I think, cut cords there. Yes, I know the fact that yes, there are a lot of people who say, you know what, you don't need to now go to a certain place to shoot. Pretty much with AI, you could make the same look, feel, etc. So there are all of those things coming to place as well. But now think about it. Tell someone who's really been a great creative thinker, you'll take away pretty much all of his soul by saying, you know what, need to shoot in a studio set and there are moving images and it'll make you feel like Rome.
So that soulless advertising part you said, I totally get it, because everything narrows down to that one big idea, like, or the insight on which you are coming out with that thought. Without that, maybe the execution is getting faster, but still the soul actually matters. But my point of, my perspective towards this is, agency in a very traditional sense, as it's slowly changing or evolving. I'll give you an example. Like, for example, the way quick commerce has grown into this space, because few years back we were not thinking that something like Zepto or a Blinkit will exist today. And with that, like, Zepto is more of a advertising company according to me, because their revenue has crossed, I think, more than 1,000 crores in the last few months back. Because because why it is happening, their business model is different, but they are primarily running on advertising. For that matter, even Facebook is running on advertising, or Google is running on advertising. But the spends has moved more towards these platforms where brands are also willing to spend more because they are seeing the result on the other side. So this time in which a brand spends money on a certain medium and the result that has reduced considerably lower in this kind of channel. So how do you see, because according to me, they are also into advertising. They are trying to create a new avenue where brands are able to get immediate result. Whether they are profitable or not, that's like a different game.
Sure.
But agency in traditional agencies, creative agencies, let's say digital only agencies, and then we have this tech giants who are actually driving results. So what's your thought on this?
So, quick commerce, as we know it, because we're Indian, is only an Indian phenomenon. The only other country where it has worked besides India is China. Leave those two countries, quick commerce is a disaster in any part of the world.
Right.
And will not even be in any part of the world, simply because the costs don't justify that business. So everyone's tried it. And, I spent about 3.5 years of my life in a company called Citrus Ad, where the premise was to create retail media, tech, and power retail and e-commerce companies as well. Quick commerce has not flown in any part of the world, be it Europe, be it the US, and the most progressive companies or the countries as well. Right. Only because human expense is so large. Think about it, the closest, you'll probably get in Southeastern countries, in Dubai and some places, perhaps companies like Uber Eats and a couple of others, where even there it is a certain amount of time, because it is purely a function of the labor costs involved. Now, having said that, I don't think, for example, even in India, where the quick commerce is there for the longest time, it's there right now. Do we have the ability to take it into every single tier 3, tier 4, tier 5? Maybe, perhaps the question is out to be answered.
Right.
But it is also a function in terms of whether tier 4 and tier 5 are also so digitally savvy, number one, to have those apps and those kind of phones and all of those things as well. And also the other fact remains that I think even if that's said, if the wave continues as well, it shall continue only in these two markets. So let's think that, we're having this discussion for the world at large. Retail media as a space within digital is one of the fastest growing spaces for brands. And that happens on many spaces: in store, out of store, in app, out of app, quick com, e-com, and multiple spaces. We've seen about more than 250% growth in India alone. As you rightly said, yes, a company like Zepto has done about 1,000 crore, but that's just Zepto. But the entire e-commerce industry, or just the quick commerce industry, retail media, that has done about 9,000 crore alone. And that's grown more than 200% compared to last year itself, and project to keep growing.
Right.
So I think what's happening is, yes, why brands are doing it, because what's also happening is that's the only space where the ROAS or the attribution is 100% linked. So I know for a fact that when I'm spending some money doing that Amul sort of ad, when someone is actually asking or looking for butter, it's personalized, it's giving me a discount coupon and something else. I have the largest propensity to click on that communication, fill up a form, add to cart, and then get it shipped to me. And as a brand, I know this holy grail start to end. Our brand always asks for ROAS today, attribution, so many things, right? When at every level there are tick marks, they're going to keep putting money. But of course, the brands putting in money are typically the CPG brands. So brands which are typically on the Zeptos or the Blinkits or the Amazons are the huge consumer brands.
Right.
Will you see a builder doing that? Maybe we'll call that, yes. It's not saying that they won't do it. But chances are, if you're on Amazon, are you going to click to sort of look at a 360 view of a 4-bedroom apartment? You're not in that mind space.
Right.
It's also about relevance. So I think great question, which you sort of said that, yes, great spaces. But I think we've seen this, right? As I think mediums evolve, it's always a function of new mediums coming. And this, while we're talking about retail media, it's also, I would think, this whole space of what we would always call, even 25 or 30 years back, saying, let's do omni-channel marketing.
Right.
So I want to know the same customer who's going to the store, who's reading the newspaper, going to the cinema hall, somewhere else. Can I create a whole way of targeting him every single place and making him feel wow and great? In some spaces, I have the attribution. In some spaces, I don't. Where I have the attribution, I keep spending more money. But where I know for a fact that chances are, I have a lot of signals today. When I spend money on outdoor, I know a lot of data saying at this junction, so many cars pass through. I have enough filters and audiences data as well, that how many people actually saw that hoarding, attention span, and so many tech companies even looking at retina data, a lot of advanced technology as well, and so much into that space as well. So I think it's not just about, I think, seeing that there is a huge change happening in terms of, I think, just saying this medium or that. Every medium itself is now sort of also changing in terms of being able to offer more opportunities, also using AI at the back to give you better, I think, decision making for the marketer.
Right.
So when he knows, because he's saying he's happy to spend, I don't know, that 500 crore on Times of India's front page. But the moment I'm putting a little QR code there, if I have a reason to feel that, yes, I can be accountable to that print ad, right? It's almost becoming that, yes, every traditional medium is looking at digital to get its space of getting ROAS.
Exactly. I think a bunch of smart companies are doing it, like, let's say, especially the print and the how print and digital can actually merge, or how a radio and digital can actually merge. Because I feel today, with most of the spends moving towards digital, I feel every other platform or every other medium is trying to adapt to digital so that they can stay relevant. Exactly, like we have done a campaign like that where we have added a QR code in a print ad for a CPG, where they were able to actually see the process. They were able to actually ask questions with an AI and kind of get answers within that. So with that, we were able to actually track how many people were, and the numbers were really interesting. So because then we know, okay, spending on print is actually
That's the only way to gauge it, right?
Yeah.
Like 15 years back or 20 years back, you would use ABC circulation figures, readership figures, NRS, IRS to say Times of India, this much reach, this much circulation, these many households, these many newspapers, and therefore you took your punt to say, what, let's, for this Maruti ad, let's take full spread, right? And you can pay that money and do it as well. Today, the CEO is very clearly asking that, great, people have seen it. How many people have bought the car? How do I map that? Which is the reason today that even with all the print ads, we're seeing some way to click to call to some convergence or some way to sort of get there as well. And again, this is not an India thing, it's happening across mediums.
Right.
But yes, it's just because I think where all this is happening is that, it's more about being accountable. It's no longer about just creating affinity, but it is actually going beyond affinity, beyond engagement to say, are you sort of actually fulfilling and finally getting you to buy?
Do you think this tracking is going to get better with things like Ray-Ban Meta is coming into play? Because now you said retina scans are happening. We were Our entire world changed when mobile became the most important thing. So now we are expecting in the next 5 years probably mobile only is not going to be there, because everything is going to be AR, and with things like companies like Snapchat and Meta is like heavily investing into this immersive experience with their Orion and with Meta Ray-Ban, which is actually a lot of people are currently, creators are using it. Whatever you see, I mean, it is being captured. So any idea on like where we are going with this immersive? Because our world changed when internet came and then mobile came, and now everything that is with AI virtual influencers, we don't even know right now. Probably 50% of the things you can find out, but there are AI influencers that I saw, and we were consuming, we were researching for a couple of brands. Absolutely brilliant, and we were not even able to differentiate whether it is actual human or not. So now everything is getting kind of merged. So with your experience, like I want to hear from you, like where are we going? Where is this industry moving from mobile to the next stage? What do you anticipate in this space?
So you have to realize one thing, that I think advertising will be where consumers are. And if consumers take to perhaps be in digital cars, or perhaps cars which fly in the sky, or the way the world is going to move, that's where advertising will move as well. Because ultimately it is about capturing that mindset of that audience. And that audience today is available and is doing so many spaces. And it's not about just moving with tech, and therefore the stuff that you mentioned, whether it is Meta and those glasses and any of those things as well. As human beings are evolving and are sort of, I think, changing the way they're doing things, they're exploring things, I think we're also hearing a lot of words around advertising should be about more creative experiences. Today, I think all over the world, we're seeing people spending good amount of money and going for these large concerts,
Yes.
going to travel to eat, going to travel to, kind of history or whatever as well. So I think so many things which are really happening. And in that space, think about it that, look at the amount of these various concerts which happen and so many things, right? No one would have ever thought that suddenly this experiential marketing space and brands wanting to own a fair amount of space there as well. Because the fact is, imagine in a stadium, and that experience could be a cricket match is what is happening currently. It could be football, it could be Wimbledon, it could be a musical theater, it could be so much more and more. And let's face it, a lot of those things haven't changed for years. Today, I don't know whether you know, but if you understand, if you do some research as well, I sort of spoke about it just about a week back, in fact, in print as well, that when the India-Pakistan match happened, suddenly advertising went off like this. One ad of a 30-second was costing 1 crore. Never happened in India. And even if you feel 30-second 1 crore, now just flip it to the Super Bowl, which happens in the US.
Right.
Same 30-second for a Super Bowl. If you do the math, it works out to close to 60 crore for one ad. Is India already happening? Are we saying that we're the fastest growing economy, we're doing well? Is 60 crore, 1 crore comparable?
No, not now.
So we've got a long way to go.
Right.
But the fact is the future is bright, because we're the only country which is still growing year on year advertising over 10%.
Great. That's a very big number.
So when that 10% is happening, a lot of reports came out last week, even earlier this week itself, which was a big report which came out saying India's spent closer to X number of money and will spend about 1,60,000 crore in 26. Now that figure is really fascinating for many people who began their journey like me or many others, where the budget was this much, overall spend was this much. Like I said initially as well, we've seen digital growing from less than 1 to 60%. Now, this 1,03,000 crores is a large amount of money, and we're growing at 10% year on year. Even a US is growing less than 1% year on year, but only their rates of advertising per. So I think for India also to succeed is that at some level, can the unit economics, you spoke often about costs, and I think that stuff which marketers say, do it cheaper, now with AI and some stuff. But trust me, India is still at a cost unit economics. Our average CPM and CPC have not changed in 15 years. I haven't seen that. I've been in digital constantly. I haven't seen average CPM growing beyond of a certain CPM price, CPC price. It's only because our supply is so large as well.
Right.
So we sit in a very sort of, different sort of world. We're very different from any part of the world. We're unique.
Yeah.
We do e-commerce. We do quick commerce. We want to go and see a tabla concert, and we want to go and physically see a match in a stadium as well. So all of those spaces will exist. New spaces will come. Like, for example, we do not know. I think there was a term, I think if you know it and I know it well as well, and Facebook tried to create this whole metaverse.
Yes.
Yeah. And I hope that while AI is getting there as well, that it doesn't seem to be this big, massive bubble as well. Because we've seen even those waves happen.
Right.
All of us have been privy to even that world where something came as, but I don't think the way AI seems to be getting more immersed into us as people. So it's not a fad. It's something which is there and going to stay. But if it's there, going to stay, and there's going to be much more opportunity in some stuff, it's about creating opportunity, right? Imagine today advertising is about really finding out those new spaces. Imagine you and me perhaps sort of going into a hotel. Yeah. And that hotel, when you're out on with your date, your house, whatever, spouse, your kids or whatever as well, personalized something comes to you with them knowing who you are. A personalized menu comes to you, not a regular menu.
Right.
Or it comes through AI saying, we know what you're in the mood today of, and everything is set ready. And trust me, that's what's going to happen. Because as much as AI is affecting many other spaces, it's also affecting all businesses.
Is it because India is so huge and the population is so big that none of the actual wave that hits the other markets, can survive here? Because what do you think? Is it because of our volume and our size? Because what I am seeing currently is events. You mentioned events and experiences is becoming so big. I'm not able to imagine that in different places, like how it was work. Let's say I remember this campaign of Mocha Bora where in Diljit's concert they were able to just bring in, and now these kind of experience based things are happening so much and it's becoming really big. So now people no more want to experience in digital. They want to come outside and go for any kind of stuff. I also saw the great growth in terms of something called fake wedding is happening and brands are promoting that. So there are so many different offline IPs being, opportunities for brands to leverage that. So do you think this is the strength of India as a, space? Like, how do you see this offline IPs and experiences as, space for brands to leverage more?
They've always been there, whether it is sport, whether it's entertainment, so the only thing is, yes, so many of them were not there. We're only as consumers. I think what's also happening is, think about is that, the reason why experiences are happening and growing is we've also seen that there's enough data that we sit in the world of a bit of a digital fatigue. We're tired of looking at the iPad or the phone or something else and some stuff, and we're actually wanting to get out and explore Rajasthan or explore someone playing cricket, explore playing a sport. Suddenly you'll see, for example, sports like paddle and pickle go up like this.
Yes.
Yeah. People didn't know what P equal to pickleball 5 years back.
Totally.
But suddenly in every corner. But at the same time, let me hold you and tell you that we're seeing all of this so myopically, as people from Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, India is not about these 10 cities. My friend, India is really in its rural. And there, yet, most people don't have a smartphone. They're on a feature phone, trying to get better in some stuff. So mobile has reached them. But the fact is, that is the real true India, where today they're still buying a shampoo or a soap at 1 rupee or a sachet. The aspirations for them are not experiences, but the aspiration for them is to get that one quality meal. Not even quality, just to get that meal. Now, that's India. And for years, brands have tried to get into those Indias as well. And because we are like a continent amongst us itself, and as marketers, as advertisers, as friends, and as different people, we typically talk the India story always from where we belong and what we know of. But try going into, like, I have the fortune working closely with the government, and a lot of initiatives the government does in a tier 3, tier 4 villages. I've been to villages where not suddenly, almost every day, they only have power for only about 6 hours and 7 hours. Now, that's what I would call as we have privilege. But for them, they don't know life beyond because they're used to having light only for that time. For them, mediums perhaps are very different still to perhaps go and watch a movie show on a weekend which gets shown in a different format. So I think where we need to also realize is that Kisan or that someone or someone else who's in that village, how do you sort of get to him from marketing as well?
Right.
Which is why companies like a Unilever, like an ITC and many others have had initiatives for many years.
Right.
Because for them, they also need to sell soap, shampoo, biscuits, something else. And I think if you're able to really do, I think that element of creating, because it's the same human being, right? We're not different from someone in Latur to in London. We have the same emotions.
Right.
So why does that guy in Latur even know about AI? He doesn't. He wants to feel good with a brand which comes to him, talks to him, again personalizes him
In his language.
and all of those things as well. So we're at a great phase, so all of these discussions are great, which is why I'm saying that today, if you want to be in advertising, back to that earlier discussion for students, is there's so much to do. If you want to make brands success today, we talk about startup stories, someone like a fast, product selling denim wear, someone selling a new burger, someone selling, but do you even realize, again, this is talking to just that 2% of Indian audience. The bulk of audience people is what people will buy the mass products.
But also the spending power is also only lies with that India one, right? Like, how do you see agencies or like in general, businesses can go into the tier 2 and tier 3? Because definitely there is a huge spending power. We have seen tractions and everything. But what kind of role marketing teams or agencies can play? What are their opportunities in terms of, like, let's say if tomorrow I'm deciding to build an exclusive agency focused on rural marketing or any particular, tier, my focus is only tier 3 or tier 4. So what's your thought on it? Like, should they go and build it? Like,
please, by all means, this is the best time. This is the time because there's saturation already happening in some form or the other. If you're going to be one amongst the many agencies doing work for the many brands in the typical big cities, but the moment, and I'm saying forget super rural, but if you just look at, for example, tier 2 or 3, and there's a very large list of
Yes.
cities there as well. That's the aspirant, what flippantly everyone uses Bharat. Now, this is the Bharat which is really changing. This is the Bharat which wants to own that iPhone. This is the Bharat which wants to probably have Ashirwad Atta and not the local Atta. This is the Bharat which wants to use the Lux soap, not use a local soap. Now, that's where a large amount of marketing money is being spent because they're also sitting with tons of money.
Right.
We've seen enough research coming out saying there are more people buying Mercedes cars, more people buying better apartments, because that's where the bigger growth is.
Right.
Because there's a fair amount of saturation, there's a fair amount of stuff which has happened at the bigger cities. So while they're growing, I think the pace or opportunity of growth of any organization, as an organization, or even in terms of the services, if you're talking about advertising, right? You see I have enough friends today who've taken that opportunity to sort of say, I'm going to start concentrating to help businesses in Kochi, in the Northeast, in Kashmir, in Sikkim, in Jaipur,
Yeah.
in Ahmedabad, in somewhere else, and many, many others.
Yeah, somebody who's entering the advertising space today, probably, even if they are from Mumbai, probably they should go to Sholapur or like some other place.
Because brands are everywhere, right?
Exactly.
And there are brand stories coming out from everywhere. We're living in a digital world today, and we suddenly hear these stories which come out to us. Maybe we don't even sometimes know that, yes, there's a brand that perhaps, thankfully, because of digital knowledge, we know that, yes, there is this brilliant company called VJohn which sells more shaving foam than Gillette does, even as 5 Gillettes together. Now, that's the harsh reality of India. But yes, there is no other company bigger than Gillette in the US and in Europe. But this is a company from India. And it's the same across product categories. Yeah. It's the same. Which is why I think there are opportunities for so many of these local brands which are becoming big, and which is why they're getting picked up as well.
Right.
Yeah. There's a brand which sells more potato chips than Lay's does.
Right.
And what Lay's will want to do is at some point keep trying to go and buy them out.
Buy them. Yeah, that's what they're trying.
Yeah. And this is across companies, across categories. Whether it's it's in soap, it's in shampoo, it's in all sorts of spaces.
Yeah.
Salt, spice, name it, across categories. And some of those companies come from really, tier 3, tier 4 cities. You'll be amazed at how some of those are becoming literally sort of stories from today. And it's not just legacy. It's also sometimes in terms of understanding. I often speak of the fact that it's also about India, I think, having its own ways of creating for unique products which are truly made for India. Now think about it. There's a company like all of us know the largest drinks company, which is Coca-Cola or PepsiCo.
Right.
Yeah. Operating for 100 years, 150 years. Suddenly a company comes in built by 3 brothers and they create a company which essentially has a drink made with jeera.
Jeera. Lahori Jeera. Then.
Literally less than 10 years old. Less than 10 years old. Already a 1,000 crore business. 1,000 crore business wants to do an IPO. Very aggressive. Selling at 10 rupees. Selling primarily in tier 2 and tier 3. Got the pulse right. You're working hard on distribution. Literally last 3-4 years in the global HQ, problem in the US, thinking that suddenly this company, which is the largest consumer market is India, and they forced Coca-Cola to create a drink similar to theirs and just recently launch it.
Yeah, I saw
Now that's exactly what India is shaping. It's creating for its own products and rivaling then international brands to think, realign, reorg their structures and to make it relevant for India. And that's not just about a Coca-Cola story or a Lahori Jeera. It could also be about the socks you wear, the undergarment you wear, the denim you wear, the masala you use in the house, to every product you can think of, because we're very unique in our own ways of doing things as Indians.
I totally can understand it, because every category has an opportunity. Like, let's say we have always been sold what Western was using. Now today you create it, and like now probably the Western is going to adapt what you are creating, and that's a great opportunity.
We have to realize that, like I said, it's we're mini Indias and mini Indias within one India. So in the bigger cities, there's always that whole thing that, I'm feeling proud of, the kind of stuff which I consume. Most of my brands are international. There's aspiration in tier 2 to get and own there. But when you go beyond, so today, for example, someone in a tier 3 will not even know this knowledge, whether he's using a toothpaste, is it Indian or international? Because for him, toothpaste is Colgate, and for him, Colgate is India.
Yeah.
But it is a global company.
True.
It may be, but the fact is, today, the same in India, 70% people in the tier 4 and tier 5 are using Colgate dental cream, ask someone living in the fancy camellias in Gurgaon, is he perhaps using Colgate? He said, have you gone mad? I use Sensodyne. Because for him it is image. Now that's what we need to realize. For him, it is also about just doing it for being told. And trust me, even Colgate will tell you that for thousands of others in villages, they still don't use Colgate. They're still using some Dant Manjan or charcoal or something else.
So with all these consumer brands or in general, we see the transformation happening from any other medium to influencer marketing in a large chunk. And I think you should be the right person to answer this, because you are working with a lot of governing bodies and you are in the board and you're also working with the government. So what kind of policy changes or adaptations that ACSI or even government is trying to do in order to structure this out? Because, for example, there is no loyalty within the the influencer. Let's say today I am promoting product A, and tomorrow with more money I am also doing it for my competitor. As a consumer, I don't know whether should I trust this particular influencer or not. I saw across different places in the world, like there are some level of streamlining being happening. Like, for example, in UAE, they have introduced a license for influencers and they have to pay it and they have to abide to certain regulations. So how do you see that changes happening, especially in the influencer marketing space, considering large amount of marketing budgets are now going into the creators? So in fact, like some of the creators I know make more money than the entire agency itself. So how this can be
It's a
streamlined?
wave which is going to continue. I started something called the Indian Influencer Governing Council last year. And God has been kind of, it's an industry body. And the entire space is to sort of really I think, make it work for various parts of the ecosystem. The brand, the content creator, the agency, and the whole space as well. But I'm going to fundamentally answer this question the way you sort of spoke about the government, right? I think it couldn't have been a better time for India, because the amount of, I think, focal that the government is putting, not just in terms of creating rules, regulation, policies, frameworks. We have perhaps some of the finest leaders in the government who are actually thinking of creating mobile first for the tier 3, tier 4. We are getting more and more, I think, aid to make India more digitally literate. Forget digitally literate, just literate itself is a big tick mark. Government is doing a lot in terms of supporting enough startups from the most tiniest of towns and villages. The government is doing a lot to perhaps also adhere to what we would call as, compared to the Western world, we have something called DPDP, which is essentially the Data Privacy Act, which then allows you to sort of know and then be able to put message to you in your mobile phone or whatever as well, because the fact is data is a big thing. Yeah. So Europe and the US talk so much about data and GDPR norms, etc., and some stuff. So I think government is doing fabulously, and I think a lot of the companies are working with the government for their own goals, their own narratives. I think there's also large infrastructure the government is putting in terms of trying to educate agency owners along with bodies. So whether it is an ASCII, whether it's the IAA, and many others that some of us are part of as well, we're playing a lot of role to try and just create more education around good advertising, ethical advertising, rightful advertising. You spoke so passionately about influencer marketing. And yes, it's clearly one of the fastest trends which we've seen in the last sort of 5 years. But also think about it that, the point that you made in terms of this content creator working on this brand, suddenly that brand, 20 years back, there would be perhaps a popular cricketer or an actor who would, the moment his contract with this gets over, flip immediately, right? Then why do we blame the creator today saying you don't have ethics? I won't take names, but some of the biggest sports stars and the biggest personalities have done this in India. In the cola segment, in the banking segment, in spaces where for many years people saw this Khan, they knew it was this brand. That contract got over, went straight to rival company. and then you feel that the creator shouldn't do that?
Not really.
Now that's really being too difficult with the creator who's trying very hard to earn a livelihood as well. So I think what we also need to realize is, yes, if we can, we should streamline the fact the way our contracts are done with those creators,
Right.
to make it relevant for the audience to feel that yes, for X time, half a year, 1 year, 2 years, create 4 pieces of content, reels, whatever, but you are the face. But it also means then the brand should be also willing to commit. The fact is, even brands want to flirt and have fun.
Right.
This time this person, next time this person. So don't blame the creator.
Right.
I sit on the board of so many places. I can tell you that because we created this council as well, is that the problem statements are on all the sides. So to feel that he is not ethical and he is flipping, and we suddenly saw him advertising or talking about this shampoo, and 2 weeks later that other shampoo. But he could have done the same shampoo had that shampoo brand invested on him to say, you know what, be our permanent face as the influencer for the next 6 months. If you are able to create those frameworks,
Yeah.
and it will work multiply beautifully well if you do it regularly, structurally. So it's not a easy one to fix, because we're a country with 145 big number, right?
Right. Yeah.
Huge number. And to sort of solve for creating, I think for many, many years, a lot of us have been part of many associations, organizations where we're trying to create for change. Thankfully, with that, I think let's give it up for all the hard work that a lot of us are doing, that we're growing.
Yeah.
This agency ecosystem has grown, spends are growing, consumers are buying better products. We're on a big high.
Yeah.
So when we're on this big high, then I feel we should just keep that big high and feel all good that everything is remaining good. And the moment then you put the good high, and then you put the AI, then you feel, oh God, sudden shake, job loss, something else. So I think somewhere when we are talking that whole narrative of India, we need to change the way we speak also for a lot of people to suddenly feel attached or detached to join this whole ecosystem.
Right.
So the moment they're seeing trends, BCG report saying largest consumer sort of economy, largest amount of people going to buy, and then suddenly feeling like, you know what, marketing spends are going to be redefined because AI will come in, cost downput. The person who's sort of 16 or 17, his parent is going to say, you know, you're damn good, but maybe this is not a space to enter. You should do this something else. So I think if we are able to be thought light, even that narrative of how do we project it, there are too many stories coming out of job losses, which is creating too much impact on younger minds and colleges. I can say that because I've for too many years taught at most of the good B schools in the country. So if you're going to keep shaking those people in tech, in media, in marketing to say, you know what, you won't get good jobs. Entry-level jobs are going away. AI is taking it away. You'd be like, what the hell? A parent is like, I took money on loan to get my kid into IIM, and will feel the pinch even harder. And you have no idea there are enough reports of suicides, deaths, and so much more. So I think the story of AI needs to be seen more as positive than of negative.
Totally.
As that of saying, we're here to stay together. We're not here to replace, displace, or take your job away.
Because with that fear, a lot of people are building a brand on top of it, or like they are trying to leverage that. But I also totally believe in the positive side of this, because this is definitely going to make things better in every domain for that matter. So especially with what we are doing with businesses is that like we are also looking at how data is being used. There are millions of data points that are available with every single business out there, the large businesses. There is a gap between a data is collected and that is converted into a insight and then to a result. So this time is kind of reducing, and we work with businesses in terms of putting AI on top of the data and how we can leverage that and make better decisions for us. So I feel everyone who is looking this entire space as an opportunity is definitely going to get that benefit. So my another question to you would be on the similar lines, like how, because marketing was always been like a kept separate from business objectives. There is marketing objectives, and then there is business objective, which is CEO or the director is worried about. Marketing has always had different kinds of parameters that we actually track. Earlier it was in when TV was the prime thing, so it was on the viewership, and then with digital we are talking about impression, reach, shares, and now what matters for a business is sales. Ultimately, if I'm bringing in cash into the business, and if I'm able to do that on a large scale, that's exactly why I will spend more on a particular place. So what kind of parameters businesses should look at tracking with this time, and what changes you have seen in this kind of how marketing can be pushed into like board meetings, and the decision of driving sales and is very equivalent to any other. I see a CMO is much more important than probably a CFO in a company. So like the perspectives can vary, but driving business is what ultimate goal for any business to thrive in these times. So what do we track in order to stay relevant and drive result?
No, you said it really well that I think in the good old days, marketing was limited to a certain role. They were sort of, I think, asked to do certain functions. And all of us know that sales has always been part of marketing, right? Because even if you are a good CMO, you began with sales and you went up the ladder as well. So having said that, I think, yes, fundamentally, marketing is all about a lot of those things in the good old days that haven't changed. It's only because I think in every business, there is so much competition, and to outpace, to stay relevant, to be in that business, to be profitable in some stuff, I think comes the whole pressure, not the word pressure, but just to be at it continually, is that not just selling, but you're selling profitable. So it's not about just saying, yes, you make X gallons of oil or X number of soaps and just sell them out, but sell well at profitability. Profitability to make shareholder success to get more shareholders. So there's a lot of those business KPIs which are now funneling down, which were earlier limited to the CEO, as you rightly said, the CFO or someone else. That's now moving to the CMO. It's not now. The CMO for quite at least the last 10 years has already a board seat. And he's essentially looking to clearly look at, in one way, to show profitable growth, to show lesser expense in terms of marketing, also the right attribution. So he's wearing that huge role. And I think, therefore, the CMOs in the last many years have the fastest growth to become CEOs because they've played that role and they fit into that corner office extremely fast as compared to a CHRO, a CFO, or someone else, because he's actually playing that role of being the top leader. That's one way of looking at things. But in the same breath, if you're looking at those, I think, shifts, it's also the fact that are we getting so fast or so thoughtful only about profitability, profiteering, and some stuff? Have we forgotten those somewhere? The fact of the brand will be profitable if the brand speaks at all levels of creating for multiple ways of connecting with that person. Do we only want his share of wallet? We want his share of mind, want his share of heart as well. Now, if we start to look at these and dissect that as a consumer, is marketing wanting to get share of mind, share of heart, share of wallet? What do you want to do?
That's a very good point. Yeah.
So if you start, and then if you can build intersections, saying I want a bit of his wallet, but I also want his mind, but most importantly, I want to occupy his heart. Because today, if you think of coffee and what automatically always orders as Nescafe, you've gotten to his heart. But the fact is, today even Nescafe is bleeding because it has 100 other companies selling coffee.
True.
Out of them, 40% saying we're D2C, we're organic, we're selling whatever as well. Then you've got Amazon who's saying we've got our own brand of coffee and whatever as well. So to own that mind space or to make dhak dhak in your heart, to feel that if you want to drink coffee, the first option should be Nescafe. If you don't have it, then you could go for brew, something else, something else. If you're in that mood, you'll say, no, let's do Blue Tokai today. You're in a different mood. And then the same equation can land up saying, coffee is not even something that the tier 3 knows. Because for him, that even milk is a big thing. So, back to where I was saying, not to digress, is to sort of say that what is that role that marketer needs to play is to be able to have a great balance of saying that I want to continually own the heart, I need to have the mind, and I need to continually have his wallet. And if you're able to continually churn this well, better, regularly better, mind is now thinking, you know what, I've had this coffee for too long. I want to have change. Yeah, I've done with coffee. I want to move to tea.
Right.
Within tea, no, suddenly I've got a fad. World has become more thoughtful about green. Let's pick up a green coffee. No, I want to be more healthy. Suddenly I'll drop all that. I want to have green tea. I want to have white something. So I'm just saying, at the end of the day, it boils down to, I think, that consumer has so much of choice. And for that choice, for you to sort of stand out, just try going to a typical aisle, not on Amazon, not on a quick commerce. Go to a typical retail store and you'll see an aisle in a big bazaar, or what they would call a Reliance Mart today, or do the same aisle in the US. Yeah, today you will see just in a category of water, the US has 300 brands of water. Singapore has about 140. India still has about 30. Now, think about the fact that we're becoming or growing as fast as Singapore or the US. So imagine there was a time where it was only Bisleri and something else. Today there's an Aquafina, something else, something else, something else. You go to tier 4, there's something else. There's Clear and God knows what brands, right? So then it is finally going to boil down to convenience, good, fresh, whatever, clean, whatever you want as well. For some people it could be price. For someone it could be, yes, this is 3 rupee bottle versus 5 rupee bottle. Even that 2 rupees delta is saving for me, and therefore he'll choose the 3 because the consumer will think that way rationally.
Right.
Someone in tier 4 will be happy not even picking a bottled water, will have water in a different way itself. So for that place, it is more a space that even Aquaguard hasn't made its presence felt. Leave aside Bisleri. So I think where we need to, navigate the changing role of a marketer is that it's, again, interesting times, very responsible, but responsible also to the fact of, I think, if you get too into wanting the wallet, you will miss the other part, which is more empirical. Because the fact is, if you chase that, maybe the fact is the consumer also becomes today a way to solicit and get new business for you, right? More often than not, we've heard enough times a friend, an aunt, an uncle, someone, mother, father telling us, "Beta, this is damn good and let's now buy this," right? And word of mouth has always been the largest, better form of advertising, right? Someone tells you, your closest friends, chances are you'll go to the restaurant because he told you. A friend says, this movie is sexy, you missed it, go and watch it, you'll watch it. Yeah, despite whatever you've seen the same 10 ads on your social feeds, you didn't play a blinker to it. Closest friend said, no, this evening you have to go and see it. Huh?
Yeah.
Then FOMO comes in, something else, shit, my entire circle has seen it. So imagine, no advertising could do what your friend did.
Absolutely.
And that's the role today. Influencers are playing someone else. So I think this marketer is sitting in a great situation where he has enough tools, enough arsenal, great people to help him. But it is just the nature of what he's being pushed to handle it's a bit delicate, because somewhere he wants to navigate saying, let me basically just continually keep my things going. Let me have the same customer for the next 5 years at least. Let me not miss him. Let me not shift him. And let me navigate that. But at the same time, then you're saying, what? You want more extraction from the same customer. You want more profitability. So you upsell. If he's buying Mari, now should buy Mari Light. If he's buying Mari Light, now buy Mari Fancy. If he's buying Mari Fancy, then someone is saying buy McVitie's. If there's McVitie's, someone is saying buy some fancy whatever as well. So imagine then because every product has got larger profitability.
Right.
And the marketer is about also showing not just sales, but sales with far better profitability.
True. So you have been in this industry again, in multiple domains. Like you have been in agency side, you have been on the brand side, you have been on the governing bodies. Now you're also working with the government. What is that one thing you genuinely feel this industry should change, or what do you wish to see in this industry? What is the that one big mistake or a generic mistake that is happening in this industry which you want to see this change in this your time of being in this into this space? Because of course there are a lot, but what is that one thing that triggers you ki like, yeah, this can be better, definitely better than what we do today?
So I love this industry too much, for which I've spent most of my career and will continue to spend as well. So I think nothing that the fact that I think I will ever feel that there is a regret in my life, or I'll ever tell someone that don't join this industry, for sure. The only one thing that I feel is that I think we need to raise the bar a little in terms of just the amount of money we pay to people in this industry. You compare advertising industry of India to any other country, we're still the lowest, or one of the lowest if you at least compare with the growing or getting growing sort of countries, right? So one thing that I would really want is that to see a bit of that change happening faster. Yeah. Yes. If you're in a globally aligned agency, marketer, maybe chances, of course, that's rationalized. But I think on the whole, I think the entry point into getting new people into the industry, if you raise the bar of that, I'll be very happy. Number two, I think to perhaps also make it an industry which will be more welcoming. A lot of people see this industry as either you need to be creative, you need to be, someone who has ideas and something else, many of those things. So typically you will have, few institutes which specialize in that. It could be a MICA, it could be this, it could be Symbiosis, it could be whatever as well. And then they churn out good students in that, whatever as well. We slightly broaden. For example, even the people coming into the universe in this industry, yeah, which is a larger thing for the many people to sort of, think of choosing their careers. So I think that's the second for sure. And I think fundamentally what we spoke a little earlier as well is that when there's all of this is already happening well as well, we need to definitely speak that language. This is a fun place to be in. It's a great place to be in. It's insightful. It's young. It's got an adrenaline rush every single day. There's hustle. Make friends. All of those things. Let's keep it so engaging, fun with most people who can relate to it, without taking into this whole sudden 1.5, 2 years feel like, what? Now my job's going to go. I'm going to get redundant. Now I'm 40, so abhi to I'll not become whatever as well.
It's a perception being created.
AI, yeah. Industry. So it's not, I think, too many of those sort of negative stories or blurbs, especially on the digital space or the internet, which we all read in some form or the other as well, which is, I think, taking the charm away. There was a great enthusiasm to be in this industry, and there is still for a lot of people as well. But because of a lot of this, I would just feel there are undercurrents.
True.
To suddenly feel that, I'm just a good creative designer. Now I need to rethink. Maybe I need to go back to my village and, join my dad. Why should that thought come? If you're creatively, genuinely good at what you're doing, you should be made to feel that, yes, he will work around with AI and give his better creative thinking to life, rather than make him feel that ye design to AI se ho jayega. So what we're actually doing is we're sort of dampening many people's spirits in this process. I understand the most basic job, great. You can do that with a machine, with whatever tech and some stuff, right? But let's not make it feel like everything in advertising is AI. What you're seeing is so much of that, saying everything is going to be AI. Everything AI. Make a car AI, make a bus AI. You can pretty much design, a Disneyland park with AI. It can't be. Have you ever seen what a 50-year-old suddenly smiles till here when he goes to Disney park? Or a 3-year-old is all smiles when he's inside with magic of, Disneyland, inside with Mickey Mouse or Winnie the Pooh or something else. Now, no AI can do a Disney park. So until we realize that, it's here, it's complementing us. It's us ultimately going to buy. It's us sitting on all the sides. Then I think we've solved for it.
Totally. So I think that's one of the entry barriers also. Like a lot of people think, okay, here like I'm not going to get work-life balance, or here I'm getting paid low. So that's definitely is there. Like of course, that as an industry we can try and make things better so that this is getting changed. And also this entire part of advertising and storytelling like narrow downs to the soul of the concepts or the great ideas. So I want to know from you, because you must have worked with a lot of people, and I really admire Mr. Piyush Pandey, whom we last couple of months back. So I'm quite sure you would have interacted with him in some level. Or I want to know from you what still matters now, and something from those legends, like whatever do you think this industry should carry forward, no matter how the channels, mediums are changing, but still, this industry should thrive and grow and scale, and it should be inviting a lot of people to come and join. I'll give you an example from South. There is a lot more opportunity because the culture of advertising and marketing in Mumbai is far ahead, I would say, according when I compare to down south. I would not say they are not doing great work. There is great marketing, great companies, but the culture of advertising, I feel I wanted to take it, learn from Mumbai and take it to, let's say, to Chennai or a Coimbatore. That's exactly what we as a company are trying to say. So I want to know from you, from the legends like Piyush Pandey, what have you learned and what this industry should take forward?
I think I've just been a little blessed. I think that way. I think I've had the fortune to sort of know him, work with him, work on campaigns together, execute campaigns on digital, the same extension to his magical ideas as well. I think these legends are just one in million born. Some of us are lucky that we get the opportunities to work along with them, learn in the process as well. And as you rightly said, I think fundamentally it's not in India whether you had someone like Piyush or Prasoon or Alec and so many others as well. Pretty much that happens in any parts of the world, right? So Ogilvy is because of David Ogilvy, or a BBH is because of some sir. A WPP is because of Martin Sorrell and many other such examples as well. These are people who really have been the thought leaders into sort of, I think, thinking human insights, creating stories, creating magic, and creating excitement for brands and marketers as well. I suddenly, feel from this question that I think at one level we're missing a lot of those people for sure, because there's a dearth of a lot of these good sort of thinkers in today's mind. Also, I feel that because things have become what we spoke of earlier, make it snackable, make it fast, make it speed, make it all of those things as well. We're in that rat race or that hustle to do it so quickly, so fast, that do we sort of have the ability to even for a moment get into the weeds of understanding human mindset, as you rightly said, right? Insight, data. Do we really take that liberty to make a brilliant film like what Fevicol did? Do we take the onus to do something as lovely as what we'll say, yes, a story like Asian Paints, her, whatever as well, which speaks a language for a long time. So, yes, we're missing some of these legends for sure, because not too many legends are being created. Also, with digital becoming more and more, pervasive, I think digital storytelling is never got that ability, because at digital fundamentally, we were never given the opportunity like a TV film or something else to have to say, up, take whatever money you want to make this happen. Ask any smartest digital person, he would always have a sort of budget, and he would never have that kind of budget. A Prasoon or a Piyush or a Balki or so many others, right? And the reason why today a lot of some of these names I'm telling you, they've moved a different side. Prasoon is spending more time making feature film. So is Balki. And so are so many others. So many others I can tell you. Because that gives them creative freedom. It gives them a narrative to express their creative thinking. So what we're left with, and not just India, what people are left with is people who have lesser imagination, lesser wholesome way of expressing thought. And then the thought gets saying, this is a thought for a banner, this is a thought for a hoarding, this is a thought for Times of India. I don't think when I met Piyush, I spoke to him, interacted with him, his thought was about saying that I'll build a whole film or build a whole thing which says at the end of that, the whole campaign, kya swad hai zindagi ka. Yes, you made a TV film, you got the girl to come into the field and do a free wheelie within the cricket match. But that line comes from where? Really about being thoughtful for long and put that line. And then of course the line could happen easy as well. Today we are lacking people who can really think of this emotion. Or we're getting channelized saying, itna shoes bechna hai, itna cream, itna masala, itna ye. Yeah, just figure it out. 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and let's get the campaign going. Do we have that time, or do we also think that these were the only few people who could challenge the CMO or the CEO saying, if you want to work with me, let's do it this way. Today, the advertising agency, no CEO of the agency has the ball to say it that way because he feels if he says it, his business is going to go and someone else will pick it up. So the WPP CEO is scared. If I say that, Publicis will pick it up. Publicis is saying, if I say it, Omnicom will pick it up. Only if you're fully convinced yourself, which is why if they want to be convinced of creative storytelling thinking, they're very well happy making a 500 crore feature film. Balki is doing that for too many years. Prasoon has made a living of movies today. We need to hold on to some of these people, or we need to create for new people of this sort. So I think we have the opportunity. There is that opportunity for sure of young, good. And I think India is also changing.
Yes.
There's a fair amount of good, brilliant homegrown agencies. Independent. Yeah, many names that you took off. Many such names which are really sort of shaping that. It's just about time that I'm sure they will create such good creative sort of geniuses in their teams as well. Right? Today, for example, yes, we've lost Mr. Pandey, but he's left legacy. Today he's got Kainaz there. And if you know her, she's doing a fabulous job at Ogilvy. Yes, in this whole sort of, I think, wheel of WPP's global realignment and also in the process killing the Ogilvy brand, we don't know what will happen under WPP Creative. But for all of us who've been in this system for too long, we feel bad when Ogilvy dies. We feel bad when Greg gets killed, for sure.
Yeah, but I think in their communication, they have mentioned that it's still going to exist, but we call it WPP Creative. But as you said, a lot of legends like Piyush Pandey have left the legacy and other people are taking up as an agency owner. Like we are trying to do it in our scale, like whatever, we are, let's say less than 100 people, but still a lot of other agencies today I feel are working with some kind of value system and they want to do this kind of work or they want to create this kind of culture. So I feel more such people have to come together and try and make this place a better place as you
also right? I think just the fact of I think this industry is a very people industry, right?
Yeah.
You said you have 100 people and whatever, 200 people or whatever. So many independent companies like yourself who have independent agencies. I also think that create environments for everyone to really feel good about walking into office every single day. As leaders, make them feel never vulnerable. Never make them feel that next week they may not have a job. So I think it also means shaping culture. Shaping culture comes from the fact of saying, create for a space which is open, not just about saying we don't have cabins. That was done 20 years back. But truly, it's about making people feeling fully inclusive. That it's not about ideas coming from a creative director like Kainaz, but it could happen with a 22-year-old who's got ideas as well. And I've seen Piyush sir and so many others really spend time with the most junior people. And then along with those junior people, biggest ideas were created. often enough, what happens today is that, we create these hierarchies, structures, and all of that in some fashion, but sometimes in this process, and then again with all of this AI coming in, we feel that concept to AI likh lega. Just put it, feed it, put a prompt, and really, it's a death of your agency. It's a death of humanity if you're going to do that. How can the world say that I'll put it in prompt and prompt will give me tagline every single thing? You've really ruined advertising. Yes, it can give you it can give you multiple things, but make it happen through people.
Absolutely. My takeaway for this entire conversation is your wonderful point of this, whether you want just the wallet or you want the mind and the voice of the customer. So I think that's very powerful, because as business, everyone wants just the wallet, but where you actually understand your customer and understand what they feel like and what makes them feel better or what they actually looking for, the winning their hearts and minds is where I feel the marketers or in general people, if they look at that, I think they get altogether different perspective, because from chasing money, you're chasing something else now. So it's kind of giving
I think you just need to balance it well.
Yeah, balance it
I think even if you just can balance even it fairly okay, because there will be moments of truth. Let's face it, there will be situations, there'll be quarters, there'll be spaces where you will lose that client being an agency leader and some stuff. So you'll have to navigate it rather well, right? But if you can do it in a manner which kind of continually I think you're sort of oscillating between balancing it superbly well, but still, I think at the end of the day, realize that if you're in advertising, you're there for really creating for human need and desire. The fundamental advertising definition is still IDA: attention, interest, desire, action. No matter what, and no matter how, no matter which country you go to, which geography, which tier of country you go to in some stuff, that's the process of advertising. And you will not change that. Only because the mediums change, paths change, you'll say, yes, faster turnaround, faster attribution, some stuff. But unless you don't go through this, right? And because of that stuff, you will finally need to speak some language which creates either a reason for you to say, no, toothpaste is over, I have to buy it. Or you feel suddenly, wow, in films that we grew up with, right? You saw the girl under a waterfall and you knew it was Liril, and suddenly it was the magic that Mr. Adik Paramsi created for Unilever in those years, creating that brand. Maybe yes, different times, 30 years back, too many brands of soap. Do we need lime in our soap? Are we using soap with moisturizer? Are we using soap now which says this soap, if you use, it will get more whales to swim because it will not, the paper dissolves. So many different things marketers are doing around the same product category, right? But if even that's a company now selling a soap, which is saying perhaps the story to sort of say that, where a soap which dissolves and there's no paper on the top and it solves for the fish not getting contaminated, more water for those fishes and some stuff, maybe you'll have enough consumers saying, I want to feel with this brand because I feel I want to give back in my own way. If it's not even as good, but I feel I'm doing the planet a better job. So it's about how, and every person is different. What you may like, I may not like, and what two of us like at some products, there'll be a lot of intersections as well. So, yes.
The planet is as important as the people. So I think a lot of people are right now.
A lot of things happening a lot. So I think it's about I'm saying that it's if you're someone who loves this industry, you'll always love it. Which is why you built a career. You've chosen to be an entrepreneur. You've chosen to do this for the last couple of years because you love every day's job. Yeah. I love just exactly what I'm doing. I love nurturing people. I love pushing them to be in this industry. So I think, yes, it's a space if you like, you love, and you'll be there till you like.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think I have personally got a lot of interesting, insights to take away from this particular conversation. Thank you for your time. And I'm quite sure somebody watching this till now, they would have learned a lot from your conversation as well. Thank you so much. Let's meet for yet another conversation probably soon.
I'm sure we'll do this as 2.0 for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Kushal. Thank you so much.